Hey, I've been getting a lot of requests to do a mixdown and mastering tutorial. I'm nowhere near a mastering engineer, so I do not have a lot of knowledge about the subject. But if you heard my tracks and you think they sound pretty good, I can show you the techniques I use on them. First of all, I've heard a lot of new beginners when they start out their track are starting with this template, which got the limiter on the master, the fruit limiter. And if you don't know how to use the limiter correctly, it's going to make the track sound worse than without. So I recommend for every new beginners to just do not have anything on your master. Just what I do is I start out with the empty templates instead, and just make a track with nothing on your master. Actually, the normal thing to do is to send in your track to a mastering engineer, and you can pay him to do a professional mastering of your track. And if you're going to release your track on a label, they probably have a mastering engineer there that will do the mastering on the track. So the producers themselves does not need to do a lot of mastering. But if you just want to do a little mastering before you upload your track to your YouTube channel or something, just for free, then I can show you some tricks that I do on my tracks. The normal thing is to first have a compressor on your master. And after the compressor, usually a limiter. Because a compressor can generate some peaks up and down, and the limiter is very nice just to remove those peaks. I thought I'd show you how a compressor works. This is the Melda multiband dynamics. It's a very nice compressor. I like it a lot and I use it on my master. I can try to explain how the fundamentals of a compressor works. If you have a generator here, I'm just gonna add something to make sound in the track here. And I will adjust the volume up and down, you can see. This is a multi-band compressor, but I'm gonna use just one band just for this, just to explain how it works for you. Now if I play this 3x oscillator, you can see this line here. When that moves to the right, that means there are audio coming into the compressor, and the further right, the louder the signal in. You can see when I adjust this. The signal in is getting louder and quieter. And now comes the function of the compressor, that is this line. This line is the compressor line, and depending on where this input line hits the compressor line, that is the audio that is going to come out of the compressor. This on the left side here, that's the audio level coming out of the compressor, and on the underside here, that's the audio level of what's coming into the compressor. So now it's diagonal. The audio signal coming in is going to be just as loud as the audio signal going out. Because if you are here, the line is going to hit the compressor line here, and the output is going to be at the same decibel as the inputs. But if we adjust the ratio and the threshold of the compressor, you can see the compressor line has like a flat top of it here. That means that when this input line is going to increase in level to the right, the compressor line is going to keep that audio signal. The output of the compressor is not going to exceed this compressor line here. I can show you. The input here is very loud, but the output is still at the same level, around the same as down here. The audio level is very compressed, and it's not going to go any higher than this compressor line. That means that the volume will never go past this compressor line here on the outputs. But you can have a smaller input level. You can have a very quiet sound about here, and that quiet sound in your track will be almost as loud as a really loud sound in your track coming out of the compressor. So that's basically how the compressor works. It just keeps your audio level at a certain point, and it make sure it doesn't pass that point. And that is what you want to do on the master. Because this is a multi-band compressor, you can have different bands. I'll just load up a preset here. You can have different bands with different settings. And all these bands are going to compress each part of the frequency spectrum, so that the whole frequency range in your track is going to be at the same level, even though the input to the compressor will vary a lot in volume. I can show you using an example from something that you could have in a track, in a real track, using this 3x oscillator. You can hear this sound is a very fall-off curve, like a pluck or a bell. If you use the compressor here, you can have it keeping the volume at the same level, even though the signal in is falling off like a bell curve. Now the attack and the release here, you can hear that little click before the compressor starts to work. The attack is the amount of time before the compressor starts to compress the signal. And the release is the amount of time the compressor is going to keep compressing before it resets itself. Now this look ahead here, it's basically the compressor looks ahead in the audio signal You can look ahead, set it to 22 milliseconds, and it will look ahead 22 milliseconds and adjust itself according to what's coming in the audio. You can kind of shape the audio envelope using the attack release and the look ahead. The compressor is compressing the peak of this curve here. That's without. That's with the compressor. So what it does is it just adjusts the volume of the sound coming in, making the volume out stay at a consistent same level. And you can do that for different bands. And that will make your track sound a lot bigger and more powerful and louder. I can show you in my track here. This is my track Dream Watchers. I got the multi-band dynamics compressor here with 4 bands, compressing each band with a different setting, a slightly different setting from each other. See, the bass is a very high ratio, and it decreases the ratio for every band upwards in the frequency range. I can turn it off and on for you so you can hear the difference. The canary sounds a lot fuller and more powerful with the compressor on, because it's raising the volume of the quieter sounds in your track. So that's basically the mastering: a compressor and a limiter. And it's pretty usual to have an equalizer on the master as well, just to do some final adjustments, but do not overdo it. Just a little bit of highs and some mids there, and sometimes I have to increase the bass in the master, just get a little bit more bass in the track. That's pretty much the 2 things I use on my master. This is just a spectrum analyzer. I can talk a bit about Mixdown. I'm not that skilled with Mixdown. I don't have a lot of knowledge about it. Just some simple tricks. It's all about making all the sounds, each element sound good, and making them fit together, making them sound good together, using equalizer, and also the stereo setting of each synthesizer in the intro. And I like to use the Melda stereo processor. It makes a very nice stereo image of the track, of the sound you have. It's important to have a kind of wide sound on your synths, and the kick usually is mono. claps and snares can be stereo. On my ride here, I just used the LFO on the pan. Just make a bit of stereo effect to it. And I read about this on the internet. A very good way to equalize an element in a track is to use an equalizer. And boost, then a very steep fall off on it. And while you're playing your synth there, you just sweep the equalizer up and down, and you listen for a place in the frequency that sounds unpleasant. If you sweep it up and down, you hear a place that it sounds very unpleasant. You should decrease that frequency. So just boost to find the place that sounds bad. Then take those frequencies away from this instrument or synth. Yeah, you can hear it at the right about 1023 Hertz. It sounds very unpleasant, that frequency around there. Kind of screeches in your ears. So that would be the frequency you should take away with an equalizer. Yeah, I can actually hear that with the equalizer off. You can hear that ringing sound in your ear. But if I turn this equalizer on, that ringing sound is gone. I'll turn it off again. Very unpleasant ringing sound there that we found by boosting with an equalizer, and then you can remove it with the same equalizer. That's a trick you can do on the Mixdown, on each and every one of your elements in your track. And the other is this stereo processor. I really like the sound of it. There are plenty different of other stereo processors out there. You can use the stereo imager in Ozone. It's got an OK stereo enhancer. You can hear that with this off. The sound is coming directly from the speakers. You can kind of pinpoint where the sound is coming from, and that's directly where the speakers are, on the left and right side. But I noticed that when I use this stereo processor, it sounds like the sound is coming from around the speakers. So yeah, stereo is pretty important in Mixdown. Also, if you use the stereo processor, it pans or it increases the stereo sound, and that will make the mono signal in your track, usually the kick is mono, so that will make the kick sound clearer as well, because the kick is coming from the center of the track, while the synth itself is coming from the sides and is not occupying the space in the middle. I can go and show you with the hard style kick here. The kick is in the center, and the synthesizer is at the sides, very panned to the sides, and that also makes for a better mixdown and a clearer mix. Now, I'm really not that good at adjusting the settings in the compressor. I usually use the presets, but you shouldn't use presets when you're mastering your track. You should adjust the compressor according to your track, because every track is different, so you need to have different settings in your compressor. You can't just have one setting that will fit every track. It does not work that way. But usually I start out with the presets, and then I adjust that. I tweak it to fit with my track that I'm working on. I can start out from resetting the plugin. I'll just enable the ozone just so I don't peak over 0 decibel here. I'll start out with the dance presets. And it's doing its thing, it's compressing everything that's above this line here. And this is the input gain. It's the main input gain. You can gain a signal that is coming in. That is kind of a way to increase or decrease the loudness that the compressor is generating. You can make it very loud by increasing the gain. The temp gain, I'm not quite sure what it exactly does, but I can hear that if you increase it to the right, it will compress more, and to the left, it will compress less. But it also increases the value of the sound if you turn it to the left. I'll try to adjust this whole compressor to this track. Just this snippet I have right here. We'll have to fine adjust later using the climax of the track, because that will sound a lot different and have a lot of different dynamics. don't know, I think that sounds alright. I'm no professional when it comes to mastering. We can definitely hear a difference from it turn off to its turn on. There's more loudness to it when it's on. I usually just adjust the threshold and the ratio a little bit, just so the input line is just above this knee here, and you will get nice compression of the peak audio input. I go to the climax. So I think that sounds pretty good. But if you want to learn a more deeper in-depth about mastering a mixdown, you should really read up about it. Search on the net and try to find articles and web pages about it. There's a lot of them. I've read some of them myself. I found one the other day. If you go to harderstate.com, that's a very nice hardstyle forum. And inside there you have a section for producers. A lot of stuff here. And inside here you have a tutorials section. And you should really check it out. There's a lot of good tutorials in there. Very good there. You should check out this tutorial. Anderson T is writing down a lot of important things about Mixdown. Really helpful tutorial there. But as I said earlier, if you don't know how to use a compressor or limiter, you would be better off not adding any to your track. And when you're creating your track, you should not have anything on your master channel. You shouldn't add anything on your master until you're done with your track. Then you can add some mastering to it. It's pretty hard to explain, but if you add something on your master while you're still making your track, you will be making your elements through those effects you have on the master. And it will be harder to master the track correctly afterwards. Yeah. And a final thing, please be careful not to overdo the loudness increasing on the master. If you overdo it, the track will sound over compressed, and certain elements are going to overpower other elements in your track. Well, I think that's it for now. Let me know if there's something else you're wondering about on this subject that I didn't include in this tutorial, and I'll try to maybe make a part 2 in the future. Well, I guess that's it. So, thank you for the support and goodbye.